All right, my friend. Hi, Susan.
Hi.
I'm so excited to be here with you today.
I know.
Thanks for making this happen.
Thank you.
So I'm here with my dear friend, Susan Johnson, who is a functional nutritional therapy practitioner. You're the founder of the KICKcancER Movement, which we're going to chat about. I want to hear all about your work within the pediatric cancer world. It's so inspiring and helping so many families. And then recently, you now own Biodynamic Wellness in San Diego. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And that's where we are. We are actually in San Diego today. So filming at an offsite podcast location. So you just moved from Mexico to San Diego. I haven't even had a chance to catch up with you about it. Like, how is it going? Tell us why you made the move. How's the transition been?
Yeah, it's funny because the last time I saw you, you got out of a taxi at my house in Mexico.
Yeah.
Delivered me a suitcase of an amazing water machine.
Yes.
And then we somehow manhandled it into an operation that your husband helped with. So
that was incredible. Honestly. I was very proud of us that day.
I know. I was. We accomplished a lot.
Yes.
So yeah, we just came back in March. We actually flew in March 15th, and I took over the business April 1st. I feel like I've been here a lifetime, and it's been not even 3 months.
Wow.
We were in Mexico 2 years, and it was kind of a last minute just decision to stay that long. We booked a one-way ticket, 3 months we thought, and ended up falling in love with Mexico.
Yeah.
As you know.
Easy to do.
Yeah. People, food, the lifestyle, the slow pace. It's funny now I look at this, I'm like, wow, God, thank you for that season of rest and just reprieve before this season of growth and chaos and in a good way, you know? So we kind of felt like our time in Mexico was coming to an end, and we struggled a little bit with that because we loved it so much. But being in a foreign country, and we just felt ready to come back. But we didn't know what that looked like, and we didn't know how long. And then I was here in San Diego meeting with an old friend and was proposed the idea of purchasing Biodynamic Wellness. And it's a 20-year-old practice that's been in Solana Beach and was owned by my previous mentor. And she had started it, owned it. She actually was a big player in our journey with my son, really helping both my kids with health. In fact, she stepped into our life really actively when we adopted my beautiful daughter, Selah, who's here with us. And just told me, hey, don't give her formula. Make this raw milk baby formula. It'll be really good for her. So that kind of started our journey into health. And then when Kicker was diagnosed with cancer, she came alongside and really taught me a lot of what I know now. And so it's a really beautiful full circle moment to be able to step into the practice. And I have people come in all the time that say, oh my gosh, I remember praying for you guys when your son was diagnosed. And so it's been really special. And so, yeah, now here we are back in America running a private practice, and it's crazy.
A very full circle is definitely the word that comes to mind there.
Yeah.
And is it similar to the work that you're doing with the KICKcancER Movement, working with pediatric cancer patients? Is it different? Like, what would people come to Biodynamic Wellness for, let's say?
Yeah, that's a great question. So our practice is root cause functional healing, right? So people will come. I've hired a team of practitioners. We had a few that were existing that came with the practice who are amazing. And we've brought on a few more. We're even bringing in a functional medicine medical doctor. And everybody kind of has their specialty. So if you come to our office, we offer discovery calls, and then we kind of assign you to the best practitioner based on your needs. What I do, my specialty and my love and my whole world is helping families navigate a pediatric cancer diagnosis. In fact, one of the clients I'm working with out of my office, I'm driving to the Ronald McDonald House tomorrow morning to meet with her and her daughter. So while my specialty and what I do is focused on pediatric cancer, we have practitioners in the office that focus on everything from mycotoxin illness to hormone balancing, autoimmune disease, you name it.
So you could treat a family coming in.
Yeah, we can, and we do. A lot of times that's what it is, right? Mom comes in for fertility reasons, and then gets pregnant, she's healthy, but she wants to refer her husband and her other kids. And yeah, it's really special. So it really is, we see everything, but my focus and the clients that I mostly work with are pediatric cancer.
And for you personally, I'm curious, like how have you felt coming back to the US? Like your energy, your nutrition, your practices. It's just I personally know because I love to travel, like it's
Yeah.
just a completely different pace of life. Are you feeling like kind of revved up and inspired and like, "Oh, I have my stuff?" Or are you kind of feeling like, being on the pulse of the US soil, let's say?
Oh my gosh. Well, let's just say Amazon is like Amazon and Instacart are like so lovely.
So convenient.
Oh my gosh, I needed a broom the other day and I was like, oh, I guess I'll order it on Amazon. And it came in like 5 hours.
Oh, yeah.
So there are those conveniences that I love. I really do like the food in the sense of just the accessibility to organic and raw dairy and some of the foods that while in Mexico, we were able to, it took some time to source some of the best clean foods. That accessibility and convenience is nice. My husband and I were on a walk, and thankfully we live right near the beach, so we can walk to the beach still, which is a gift. We were walking last night, and we were talking about how we definitely have felt the impact of being back in the States, and not necessarily in a positive way. And so we've realized we do have to be really intentional with slowing down and not getting caught up in the chaos and even just like in traffic, just driving here, and so there is a lot of it requires more intentionality to rest and to kind of reset and to go stand on the beach and put my feet in the water and just take a breath.
Yeah.
Which we did all the time in Mexico. Walking, that's the other thing. People don't walk here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that's all we did in Mexico, barefoot.
Driving culture.
Yeah. And now it's just a lot of, so it requires more intentionality. But again, some of those conveniences are really enjoyable.
For sure. I walked into a coffee shop right before I came here and they had raw milk lattes. I was
So
like, is
great.
this legal? Is this legal here? And she was like, yeah, they made it legal 2 years ago. I mean, even in Texas, we can't do that. So
I mean, California has some really cool things. They have their issues, but they've also got nutrition wise, I feel like we're pretty solid.
So you and I were originally connected through my cancer journey, which is now like crazy enough that it's 6 years ago.
Wow.
That I was first diagnosed in 2019. And just somehow through the power of the world of Instagram, you and I came into each other's worlds. And I remember people recommending that I reach out to you, and maybe people had recommended that you reach out to me, but just like having you as a resource,
Yep.
And that was where our original connection came from. And then it's grown and fostered and ebbed and flowed over the last 6 years. But what I would love to hear about is just kind of your entry point into the cancer world, because it wasn't your own personal story. It was your journey with your son, Kicker.
Yeah.
So can you just kind of bring us back to that time? How old was he? Where did it begin for you? And I kind of want to just dig into how you ended up really approaching it in this integrative way and now being an inspiration and a mentor and a guide for so many other families. Because I know for me, because I talk about Hope for Cancer so much, I get a lot of families who ask, like, can kids go there? And unfortunately, they can't. And I know there's also a lot of regulations around children. So kind of let's dive into your story with this cancer world here.
Yeah, it's funny you say that about Hope for Cancer. I was just texting Marcy today, and we were just kind of going back and forth about that heartache. And for Hope for Cancer, for Dr. Tony and Marcy, their heart aches for the fact they can't legally take these kids in and support them. And so, so going back to our story, I was a functional practitioner. And I mean, my kids went from basically breast milk or raw milk baby formula to bone broth, super healthy, thought I was doing all the right things. And I was doing a lot of right things. And then all of a sudden, my almost 3-year-old stops walking and was complaining of off and on different things that were just random. So what does the practitioner do? I put him on all the protocols and I'm like, oh, we'll do this and we'll do this. And nothing was really changing and it was very inconsistent. And that's when I kind of knew something was probably a little bit deeper going on. Mm-hmm. And we brought him down to our to our osteopathic physician down in LA and had him look at him, and he kind of had a gut feeling something was wrong. And so fast forward, we're in the ER and they are transferring us to the oncology floor, which I knew what that meant. My husband had no idea. And I didn't realize that until like the next day. He told me, Susan, I didn't know what oncology meant. And so we get this diagnosis of acute lymphoblastic leukemia. And I will never forget the the nurse practitioner looking at me and going, "Don't worry, it's the good kind of cancer." And I kind of wanted to punch her in the face, honestly. I'm like, I'm sorry, but my almost 3-year-old has cancer and you just told me it's the good kind? That doesn't give me any. Now looking back, I'm working with every kind of pediatric cancer you can imagine, brain tumors, sarcomas. I can see that, yes, it's a much more treatable type of childhood cancer. So we get this diagnosis and I was really paralyzed, and actually I kind of questioned everything like you did, right? Who am I? And what do I know if my own child got cancer? And here I'm telling people how to be healthy.
Yeah, for sure. There was for me, there was a level of shame. There was shame in it for me. I don't know if you resonate with that, but being the health coach, the yoga teacher, the one who was the healthiest person everybody knew, there was that oh my gosh, can I even tell people this element of it? So I understand that.
Yeah. And even I remember being afraid when my clients would find out that they thought I was just a joke, So yeah, there was a moment of that, but thankfully it didn't last long. And really, I think it's because of Kim, who I bought the private practice from, and Dr. Moreno, these two functional providers that had been in our life, thank God, before this, and really came alongside and kind of just grabbed our arms and, walked this with us. And like I said earlier, Kim really taught me a lot of what I needed to do to support him through this treatment. And so I didn't realize that it was illegal as a parent to choose the treatment that you think is best for your child when they're diagnosed. And that was a really big, scary moment to realize, oh my gosh, we don't have a choice. Because I remember getting the diagnosis. They tell us, he's going to have chemo every day for 3.5 years. And this whole, I went numb. I probably remember a quarter of the conversation. And then going back and calling Kim and Dr. Moreno going, okay, what's your plan? What's your proposal? We heard theirs, it sounds horrible. What's yours? And they said, Susan, you guys are in the system. If you leave the hospital, Kicker will become part of foster care and you'll be probably arrested. And I was like, what? And so, and I will say this, fast forward now, I can totally see how God used our story. And I am so thankful we did walk through it.
Yeah.
Because who would I be to talk to families that are walking through this and that don't have a choice? If I went off and did my own thing, I couldn't relate. I couldn't say, no, I know what it's like to have your child go through chemo every day.
Yeah.
I walked that whole road that they have to walk.
And just so we can put parents, anyone listening to this, how old is Kicker now?
14.
Kicker is 14. He's thriving. He's a surfer, an epic human being. I love seeing him on Instagram. So this story has a great ending.
Yes. I sometimes forget that part. Yeah.
Important to say. But.
He actually just won a push-up contest. This is pretty funny. He was at a men's conference at a church up in Washington, and they did this crazy, men competitive thing. He, in the age range, was 14 to 17. He won the first round doing 82 push-ups.
All right.
The second round, the final championship round, they put a 20-pound vest on him, and he did 62 and won the whole thing.
Let's go,
the kid's
Kicker.
a beast. He is
62
totally
push-ups with a 20-pound vest on.
Yeah, I'm like, wow. Okay, I got to up my game.
Yeah, no kidding.
Jeez,
that is impressive. Well, no doubt he's had an incredible upbringing the past. His whole life, but 11 years of, from being diagnosed at 3 and 11 years of living. I see his diet, so, I know some of these things. But, okay, so Kim says to you, you don't really have a choice. You're in the system. And if you deviate, then he will be taken away. And this is still what parents are navigating in the cancer world. Yes?
100%. Yep.
Okay.
The only time there's any bit of grace, and I don't even know if that's what they would call it, but any type of freedom and decision is when the prognosis is very, very poor. Mm-hmm. So when the hospital has said, nope, we're done, nothing more we can do, or the prognosis initially is 5% chance of survival, they'll sometimes kind of give parents an option. But here's the problem, and what we were kind of hinting at talking about Dr. Tony and Marcy from Hope for Cancer, the problem is that all these other integrative facilities who would love to be able to serve kids are terrified to, because legally there's so much liability and risk because of what has been created with these, and I don't even know if law is the right word, but with this expectation that kids can't vary from protocol. And so you have these doctors that their hands are pretty tied. Like, I would love to support your child, but legally, like, I can't.
Right.
And so I do, this is probably a whole nother part of the conversation. I have hope, and I'm hoping. I've had a few conversations with people that are trying to connect me to the new administration and having these conversations and kind of bringing this up, because a lot of the conversation is around funding, which sure, kids cancer gets 4% funding. So yes, they need more funding, but I'm actually more interested in having the conversation about, hey, why don't we talk about just at least allowing integrative therapies? Because what we're seeing, CPS is called when a family says, hey, I'm going to deny the preventative antibiotics that you want my child to take every day. Or, I'm going to go get high dose vitamin C. I just had a conversation with an oncologist this week about this. Oh my gosh, absolutely not. And if you go get high dose vitamin C, I think we're going to have to call CPS.
It's terrifying.
So it's things like that like and you and I've had this conversation. I'm not against chemo and radiation surgery. In fact, I 100% believe it can play a role. And I give chemo credit to my son's healing. Like, I think it did play a role.
Right.
But we know it's not the answer. It's not the reason. They didn't get cancer because they needed chemo. So just being able to incorporate some of these integrative therapies could change the outcome for so many of these kids.
Well, it breaks my heart to hear all of that, just because what a journey for a parent to navigate already, just with a child being diagnosed. What a heartbreak. What a huge thing to hold and to navigate for your beloved child. And then from there's now this added element of course, I'm going to do everything for my child. I want what's best for my child. And now there's fear. At least as an adult, it was my body, right? I got to say what felt right for me and what I opted in and out of. But how heavy for a parent to carry both of those elements at the same time. So where does a parent go from here then with that type of information, or where did you go? So you opted in to doing the conventional treatments, and how did you support Kicker as he was navigating those? And how did you learn? Was it Kim who really supported you with that?
Yeah. So this is where I can just, again, I see like God's hand in the timing of everything. And thankfully I was a practitioner. So I did have to go back to going, okay, what I learned is still 100% valid. And what I've been helping people with is valid. And so I went back to the basics of what I knew about nutrition, and then tapped into Kim and Dr. Moreno, and then started studying Dr. Anisha Winters, and started finding all these other people who were doing research on nutrition for cancer. And I found that, 100% nutrition plays into this.
Right.
And so we immediately put him on, he was already on a really nourishing diet. We just tightened everything up, and we were giving him organ meats. Like, we had a friend, do you remember George Bryant? The paleo, he was a chef. He had a blog.
It sounds vaguely familiar,
Paleo
actually.
something.
Yes. Now that you say that, the paleo world.
Yeah. And he had this cookbook, and we had connected somehow. He brought homemade chicken liver pate to the hospital and plantain chips. Wow. Organic plantain chips. Kicker, I have videos of him just sitting there scooping it, and the nurse going, what is he eating? And so we had him on really good nutrients, lots of healthy fats, organic eggs, organic animal products. We did tons of fermented veggies. We did raw veggie juice, organic, of course. We got a lot of pushback about that. By the way, that was another threat from CPS. Not for our family, but for another family we were walking at the same time. They kept bringing in organic raw juice. And the nurse said, we can't allow raw juice in the hospital, and especially for an immunocompromised child. So if you keep bringing it in, I'm going to have to get social worker involved. And I mean, it was a whole thing. And so again, just navigating that in the hospital, it can be super challenging, but we were doing all organic food, organic juice, tons of healthy fats, lots of organ meats. And then we were giving him supplements. And so this is where I really leaned into Kim and Naisha Winters and just some of these people who had walked this road. My husband has a picture of me like up at 4 a.m. reading medical journals and just trying to learn as much as I could. And I started to understand, there are things that I can't do that are contraindicated with treatment. And then there's also this burden. These little bodies are going through a ton of they're getting a cytotoxic poison pumped into them, sometimes just full speed ahead, nonstop, right? Hooked up to it for hours. And so even with wanting to detox, we have to be mindful to not overburden their liver. And we don't want to flush things out too quickly. So I realized there is actually some complexity to it. And so that's when I knew that if I ever wanted to help other families through this, I had to really learn and not experiment with Kicker because I was being guided really well, but to walk this road with him. And we were told he'd be hospitalized at least 10 times in the first year and a half of treatment just from opportunistic infection, just because he had no immune system. And I was like, oh, hell no. I'm not living in the hospital with my child.
Mama bear coming out.
Watch me.
Yeah.
And I don't know that I had that ego yet, or not that I wanted ego, but I just knew that cannot be.
Right.
And so we were using essential oils, we were using supplements, nutrition, gentle detox, and he was not hospitalized one time in 3.5 years, not once, outside of his scheduled, treatment. And I remember doctors saying, oh, he's just lucky. I'm like, no, there's no luck involved. Like, this is intentional action.
Right.
Like, if you would sit down and let me talk to you about what we're doing. And you'll appreciate this. We walked into one of our meetings and Kicker brought in his hard-boiled eggs and his raw green juice. And we're sitting at this meeting. He's about ready to go in and get, I think, labs. I don't think chemo, but labs. We're talking to the oncologist, who, by the way, is like probably my age. On his desk is a Diet Dr. Pepper and a bag of hot Cheetos.
Oh, my heavens.
He looks at Kicker and he's kind of starting conversation, and he goes, oh, what are you eating? And Kicker's like, he called hard-boiled eggs rotten eggs. I'm not really sure why. And he loved the
smell.
Maybe the smell. Yeah. He's like, my rotten eggs and my green juice. And the doctor literally took his eyes off and looks at me and goes, is that raw? And I said, yes. And he's like, that's really dangerous.
Oh my.
So again,
goodness,
this is what parents are facing, and it's scary. Like, I'm a practitioner, and I even would question things and go, wait, am I doing the right? Like, am I putting my child at risk? Because even in that moment, you're kind of like, you get white coat syndrome, and
right.
And then I had to remember nutrition's an elective. They have no idea about nutrition and the role it plays.
Of course, they don't learn that. They're not educated in that.
No.
They're educated in medicine.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So what were like some of the tenets of Kicker's nutrition at that? It was the healthy fats, you were doing the raw vegetable juice.
Organ meats were a big thing, just those B vitamins. And, we know that chemo and antibiotics that are required for prophylactic treatment suppress the bone marrow and mess up red blood cells. I mean, it's a whole circle that we're creating. And so we knew if we gave him organ meats and supplemented him with organ meats, bone marrow, we fed him bone marrow. And by the way, there's really creative ways to get all of this in kids. Like most kids, my kids love bone marrow. They'll scoop it out of a bone. Most kids don't. And so we teach families how to like incorporate this, but we're giving them all these nutrients to specifically support hemoglobin, liver enzymes, bone marrow health, platelet count, all of these things, right? Keeping his immune system firing. And then one of the things we did really also incorporate, because I mentioned detox, I think this is huge, and you know this. It's one of the big pillars of Hope for Cancer is, helping your body like make sure it's detoxing. And so we brought in homeopathic detox modalities because those are not generally contraindicated with treatment. And they're really gentle. And kids can take them because they're pellets or they're drops. So we would do that. We do like castor oil packs, detox baths. We're not talking like these crazy cleanses or really even doing anything that you had to go out of your home to do because it's not realistic. Just kind of, we did HBOT. We were gifted. I am kicking myself. We were gifted the same one you have.
Yeah. The hyperbaric oxygen chamber. Mm-hmm.
Hyperbaric oxygen. And I don't remember if it was a rep from the company. Somehow, anyways, we're gifted this. And we were moving like a year later, and there another woman, an older woman, was diagnosed with cancer, and I gave it to her. And in my head, I still remember thinking, did I give it to her or did I lend it to her? And oh my gosh, I wanted her to use it, but I want it back. I don't even remember her name.
Yeah.
But we did hyperbaric oxygen. And that was hard. He was little, he'd get a little claustrophobic. So I'd have to sit in with him then. Even now, when we lived in Mexico, we'd go up to Hope for Cancer just for like the day and just for therapies, proactive. And him and I would lay in the hyperbaric oxygen chamber. We did do some high dose vitamin C, which again we did not disclose this to our doctor, but remember we were under the care of also a functional team that was monitoring him and understood kind of the safety. So we were literally, pulling out money from every possible place and putting it, we wanted to leave no stone unturned. And do
what was the bulk of that time? Like from when he was 3 until like how long
7.
did you do? Okay, 3 to 7. It's this diet, it's these practices, the detox, all of that for 4 years.
Yeah, and then after, that's the thing too with your experience. And most people, when they walk through a cancer diagnosis and they do it integratively, and they're actually like really healing the terrain and healing the body, they're leaving this diagnosis so much healthier.
Absolutely.
Like you're like a new woman, right?
For
and
sure.
you have this whole new mitochondrial health. And when kids leave treatment, they're sicker than when they went in. They may not have cancer, but they have nothing left. Like now, a lot of the families we work with, we're teaching them to support their child through treatment. But for most kids, they're told there's nothing they can do. And I just had this heartbreaking conversation with a family yesterday that is wanting to work with me, and their son is 16, finishing treatment for a really aggressive sarcoma, a bone cancer. And they said, he has 2 more rounds. He wants to finish playing football in high school, and he wants to build his health back. And we really want to make sure this cancer doesn't come back because he has the disposition, like with his genetics, his cancer genetics, that it's highly likely that it could recur.
Okay.
They said, we asked our oncologist who we adore. They said, he's been great. What do you recommend now? Is there anything we can do to prevent this from coming back? And the oncologist literally said to them, cross your fingers and hope for the best. And I'm like, you've got
I feel like that should be
to be
illegal.
kidding me, right?
Yeah. Come
That's
on. We can do
insane.
better.
Yes.
We can do better.
And obviously the guy didn't get into pediatric oncology to like mess with people.
Right. Of course.
He truly wants to help.
Of course.
But how do you not logically think like this 16-year-old didn't get cancer because he needed chemo, radiation, and surgery.
Right.
But that's all we did. And now we're like, good job, ring the bell and you're good. Like that's not how it works.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the year after that next phase of healing, we go real deep. And that's where we start doing like functional testing to figure GI maps and, looking at toxin burden and kind of trying to find root cause in a way. Not that we'll ever know. I always say, I think this side of heaven, we're not going to know exactly why we get cancer, right? But I think you and I both know that there's multiple contributors that led into that.
Right.
And so that's kind of my goal post is to be able to do some of these functional tests with kids. You can't really do them when they're going through active treatment. They're not really accurate. But to find out, is there mycotoxins present? Is there a tooth infection? Is there like what's going on in their gut? Are they depleted of a specific bacteria? Do they have parasite burden? And then really work on healing. And so when treatment's done, that's when real healing like needs to start and not just finish, right? And
it makes me think about this surgeon that I met with, who at the time, obviously she was a surgeon and she was recommending surgery and then radiation treatment. And I said, okay, I hear everything you're saying, but what if I pair it with all these other things that I was doing, with juicing and raw foods and the detoxification? And she said, she actually did tell me this. She said, legally, I cannot tell you to do anything else other than surgery and radiation, because if you come back to me in 10 years on hospice, I can lose my license. And so my curiosity is like, obviously, I understand the legality of these practitioners and their hands being tied for perhaps this oncologist to be like, yes, okay, here are my nutritional recommendations. Well, he doesn't have that training. But where do we get to bridge the gap where, this doctor who, like you said, he's a pediatric oncologist. He obviously cares. He wants what's best. He wants to help these children. He doesn't have that training, but where can we bridge the gap between him then saying, listen, that I can't support you with, but here is a list of people who potentially can. And then you're just putting the power in the family's hands. Like it feels like these worlds of conventional and integrative oncology for both children and adults they're so opposed to one another. Like you have to pick a side and stay on a side. Even as much so that when I did integrative practices, I had an 80% reduction in cancer from the integrative practices. I thrived, my skin glowed, I saw life different. As you were saying, there were all these incredible benefits of changing the terrain of my body. And then when I got pregnant with my second son, there was some progression. And I decided, okay, at this point, I will now go have surgery. Why did I then feel guilty that I'm like, oh, well, now I'm having surgery? Is that the wrong thing? Like, how? Really, there's no question I have here other than like, how do we serve? How can we bring the worlds together more?
Yeah.
I guess that's my curiosity.
Yeah.
And why does it have to be so black and white?
Yeah, it's so polarized. And
So polarized.
I think it's legalities. Like people are afraid. I really, truly think at the root of it, it's ego and money. And I mean, think about it, like the fall of man, like ego and, so I think that it comes down to that people are scared to death. Like you said, that woman did not want to lose her license.
Correct.
So that's money and maybe purpose, but ego and money. And I think that's what we're dealing with is like a doctor says, hey, you know what? You should talk to Susan Johnson. She's a functional health practitioner specializes in supporting, because I don't treat, I'm not a doctor.
Right.
Supporting families through this with nutrition. That then puts him in, I'm assuming, a legal position that if something happened and that, I really think that we've totally screwed up the world with like the ability to sue and like greed and money and ego. But the other thing is that I've learned is ego is a big thing with doctors. And I mean, I catch myself all the time, like praying, like, God, just humble me. I know I'm not the smartest person. Keep me humble. But you think about it, if you're an MD and you go through 8, sometimes 12 years of school and residency, and you have a nutritionist or a mom come to you and challenge or question what you're trying to do, and they do that over and over, like every mother should, because she has intuition and it's her child, it's not his child, or the oncologist child, it's her child, that you just kind of develop this ego of like, they didn't go to 12 years of medical school. They didn't spend hundreds of thousands of dollars in medical school. And then they start to go, maybe in the back of their head, they're like, oh, dang, like we are losing kids. And we're also seeing super cancers in kids. How is this a thing? They might be questioning it, but that means that they would have to admit that those 12 years and hundreds of thousands of dollars maybe didn't teach them everything that they should know.
Right. Right.
I mean, that's a hard pill to swallow.
And medicine is continually evolving and health and,
which should be followed.
Yes, exactly. Well, that's where we get to kind of praise the internet. We get to praise social media. There's obviously lots of downsides to social media and phone addiction and all that stuff, but we get to be two moms who, maybe they've spent hundreds and thousands of dollars on their medical education, and we've had hundreds and thousands of hours of research for your son, for my own health, for my life, Mom, don't mess with moms. Moms are a force.
They are. But I'm sure you do this too. Like we have to constantly remind our moms that they have a voice and they have to trust their intuition. One of the things that we tell families all the time is please ask your nurses or your doctor to put in your child's chart to remove the dextrose from their IV fluid. Because your child doesn't need sugar in their IV fluid. And I will say there are certain chemo drugs that have to be delivered with a sugar molecule, but we're talking the hydration bags. Like, let's remove the sugar, okay?
Yeah.
And when they go, I mean, I have had moms come on my calls. We do these weekly group calls, crying, scared to death to go in and ask their doctor. Because the last time they asked their doctor, they were basically shut down immediately. Yeah. And so teaching moms that, like, be a mama bear, question, this is your child. It's not the doctor's child. Have you seen that study, by the way, that it was done? I'm going to totally butcher this. So if anybody asks for it, I don't know where to find it, but it was a study that was done that I want to say there was like 8,000 oncologists, and I'm not pediatric, just oncologists interviewed. And they were asked, if you got cancer, would you go through the same treatment protocols? And 80% of them said no. And I remember hearing that like 4 years ago and thinking, but yet you as a mom are terrified, or as a patient are terrified to question and push back. Yeah. They probably wouldn't go through the same treatment that they're telling you to do. Because they see what it does. And again, I know chemo plays a role in all of that, but like you said, it can't be the only answer. It's ludicrous to think that.
That was like when I heard that all the Silicon Valley like tech execs send their kids to Waldorf schools where there's no technology.
Right.
You know?
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. I've heard some of those types of statistics about oncologists saying that they wouldn't give their child or loved one the amount of chemotherapy that is often administered. So, I mean, and I just want to like acknowledge you and commend you and celebrate you for the gift that you are for these pediatric cancer families. For someone to say, hey, I've been there, I've gone through it. Let me hold space. Let me love you. Let me sit beside you. And I watch your stories, and I've followed you for a long time, and I see the way that you engage with these families, with these children, with these parents, and I just really want to honor and commend you for that, because it's scary, and you're bringing hope, and you're bringing peace. So thank you for being that type of human in the world.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And we always say, like, we went from one child with cancer to thousands around the world. And yet I do intentionally pray that I never want to become jaded. Like I break down on almost all our calls. When a mom starts crying or dad is crying, I'm like, I'm a mess. I'm not the one. If you need somebody to come and hold it together for you, like I just am broken every time. And I do sometimes ask, like, God, why couldn't I sell chocolate and flowers and wine in the streets of Paris? That would be so fun. It's so easy.
Yeah.
But no, and just
How
like
real.
you, like, you're not going to I can't let my story like go to waste, like the suffering that we endured, like you, right? Why are you doing what you're doing? Because of that. Like, it changes you forever.
Yeah.
And it changes your perspective. And if I could help somebody else have just a little hope, I can't promise I'll save your child. Gosh, not at all, but I can promise that you'll find a little hope.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's paying your story forward, Pain to purpose story are some of the most beautiful stories out there. So thank you for doing that. Really, truly, it's beautiful to witness. So tell me a little bit more about what the KICKcancER Movement actually does. Like, so, and also, where does a family go upon they're like-minded to you and I? Unfortunately, there's been a diagnosis. They understand that they're working with their oncologist. What are the options? So that's one question. What are the options, and what does your foundation do?
Yeah. So KICKcancER, you can find us at KICKcancERmovement.org. And we have 3 things that we do. We had 4, and I'm praying that we get the funding to bring back the 4th. So one is we send kits out when a child is diagnosed, or in the midst of their diagnosis, the end of their diagnosis, it doesn't matter. A parent can request a kit. It's a Kickstart kit. And that kit has organic snacks, a devotional, essential oils, some gentle supplementation, detox tools like an Epsom salt bath, castor oil packs, just a whole host of things to kickstart their journey to thrive through this diagnosis. And it gives them information on, like, hey, here's an example of what this could look like. So we send those kits out. And then we also have an athlete program. My husband started this because he would watch kids in the hospital room, they're like gray and bald. And then he'd see pictures of them playing soccer on the wall. Or like, I want to get them back to that mindset. Like, you have something to fight for, right? Let's get you back out doing the sport that you love or doing the thing you love. So we started this athlete program 6 years ago, and we fund kids doing the sport that they love, whether it's dance or baseball, or we bought a kid who lost his leg to sarcoma, bought him a go-kart, and he just won like the world championship go-karting in Europe.
Let's go. Okay.
Right?
That's
I mean,
incredible.
the coolest thing ever. So
Yeah.
our scholarship program just helps fund their sports and what they love. And then the third part is we do a monthly talk. It's called the Thrive Together Talks. It's free. And we have guest speakers come on. Sometimes it's me, sometimes it's a special guest, just teaching on a topic relevant to thriving through cancer. And the fourth that we want to bring back is we did retreats up till right before COVID. They were beautiful. Like bringing, 30 families in, and they get to meet each other. They get to see they're not alone. They build these unbreakable relationships, and we teach them over the course of a weekend all the things, like how to feed your child, how to detox, and bring in special guest speakers into this. And we hire nurses, oncology nurses, to hang out with the kids in another room. And it's just a beautiful thing. It's like, if I could just do that with Kick Cancer, I mean, I'd put every bit of effort. It's just challenging with funding now. It's one of our most expensive efforts, right? So we're hoping to bring that back. So that's through Kick Cancer. And then my brand, I have a program called the Thrive Formula. So I have a Thrive Through Cancer Formula and a Thrive Beyond. And those are kind of membership setups where myself and a functional medicine doctor work together to support these families in real time on weekly calls. You've been a guest speaker on one of our calls.
Yep.
And we bring in experts to teach on water or detox or grief, like how to help your kids process grief. And so that's another way we just walk alongside. And that's my personal brand. It's not through our nonprofit. So those are two ways that we're really supporting families. And then, of course, through my private practice, I have families that just want to work with me one-on-one. And they want to get that support. And so we support them through that as well.
So beautiful. Incredible offerings, my friend.
Thank you.
Grateful they're out in the world. One of the things that we had spoken about the other day was the unique challenge of the marriage and the family unit as you're navigating something this big, this hard. Granted, we're speaking about it through the lens of a cancer diagnosis, but obviously marriages and families navigate all types of hardships. How have y'all stayed strong through it? How did you show up as partners throughout it? Was it always healthy? Were there any moments that it did get really rocky where you guys didn't see eye to eye on things? How did you navigate this in your marriage?
Yeah. I'm so passionate about this because I really believe that marriage is like the biggest weapon against evil. Like I think that it was God's gift to the world to create this partnership and union of like power for good. And raising strong men raise strong families and create this beautiful dynamic with their wife. And so I've always just cherished that belief and understanding. And I was fortunate to, be raised by good parents and then have a great marriage. But then this rocked it and get in that diagnosis. And in the very beginning, I saw he processed grief different than I did. I wanted to talk about it. I wanted to talk about all my feelings. I wanted him to like sit there and let me cry and talk. And he wanted it to just go back to normal.
Yeah.
But he didn't tell me at the time. He was a California Highway Patrol officer. And when we kind of navigated that first bumpy month or two of like anger, and I just remember praying one night, like, God, you can't take my marriage away. My kid has cancer and now like I can't lose this. And I remember getting to this point where he said, Season, I am in my CHP car bawling my eyes out, pulled over on the side of a road. That's how I'm processing my grief. And then I get home and I want it to feel normal. So I've already processed it. And I'm so sorry that I can't show up for you so we just had to kind of figure that out and learn how to process it together. But then also, this is where we established date nights and business meetings. This was actually kind of a cool thing that another cancer parent taught us. Like, have your date nights and make it just fun. And if you want to talk about emotions, it's going to come up. But don't talk about like the appointments and the doctor visits and the supplements you need to order and the next treatment you want to try. Like, leave that for a business meeting. And it was really helpful advice because we kind of separated it. And we didn't do this perfectly. It wasn't like, we did our best, but we were mindful of it. And so date nights were date nights, and it was fun and joyful. And usually we'd come home and just be able to go to bed together and just have a great time. Business meetings, we would try to keep separate. And so that was really helpful advice. And then just, learning how to create the space for each other. We still had to go, or I shouldn't say go on dates. You could do a date in your backyard. We still had to make time for each other. Mm-hmm. And that feels like, for a lot of parents, selfish and impossible when your child's going through this, but it's essential because when you feel well, you can show up well. Mm-hmm. And I don't know about you, but like if Josh and I are arguing or we're in like a weird, disagreement for a couple of days, nobody's enjoying life.
Yeah,
like
that's true.
I can't pretend, there's heavy energy in the home.
Yeah.
Even if it's not a big deal, it's just like you're tense and annoyed with each other. And I learned early on that Kicker and Selah would pick up on that energy, and he would not do well when that energy felt heavy. Like we literally were able to connect the dots of, oh my gosh, he's not doing well. He's pale. He's not feeling good. Oh, we've had a really heavy conversations the last few days about a job change or about moving or arguing. Yeah. And so it was helpful to kind of be held accountable to go, we have to make time for us. We have to prioritize sex. We have to prioritize date night. Even when it felt hard and like we were exhausted, that was our connection point. And so we stumbled through it for 3.5 years. I mean, it wasn't perfect. It wasn't beautiful. But at the end of the day, we knew that like his healing and my daughter's ability to come through this well had everything to do with us being united and fighting and contending for our family. Yeah. And, I'm sure you've heard this. Marriage isn't 100-100, or marriage isn't 50-50. It's 100-100.
Yeah. Yeah.
But some days you're 150 and he's 50, right? And like just being okay with that. But it requires effort from both of you all the time. And some days it's a little less from one than the other, but just being realistic and about the expectation and having that open communication.
Yeah. It's such an important topic, and I love that you talk about it. And I think it's just such good overall marriage advice, because I think in a lot of ways we have this expectation that our partner is going to be everything, like our friend and our lover and our co-parent and the chef at dinner, the co-chef at dinner time. And we have them wear all of these hats. And so what I heard you say was, okay, well, Josh is processing one way by crying in the car. Your process, you need to process in another way. You want to talk. So what was your outlet then? Did you have a group of friends? Did you have a therapist? Like, how did then Season, acknowledging that her process was different than Josh's, still get that cup filled for you?
Yeah, exactly. And I didn't say that. I would talk to my sister or some of my best friends.
Okay.
And it would be kind of like, it was like a text, phone a friend.
Yep.
Like, hey, just, do you have a few minutes, right? Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's just text. I don't even want to talk to you on the phone. I just want to text and like dump on how I'm feeling. And so yes, 100%, it couldn't always be him. And then that's where I kind of learned that like, I have to also lean into my relationship with God and realize that has to be super strong for me to also show up in my marriage. And he can't be that pillar of like solid, constant, right? And I can't expect him to be that. And so it was kind of getting back in the word and focusing on like having quiet time and and a lot of the quiet time, by the way, was like cussing and yelling at God and not like me on my knees, like, thank you for today. It was like, I'm pissed and you're really pissing me off and I'm angry. And getting that out to him was really therapeutic also.
I was curious about what role your faith played in this. Did you have your established faith before Kicker's diagnosis? Did it evolve? And what role did it play over those 4 years or even into today?
Yeah, I grew up Christian. My husband was a pastor's kid. So we had a established faith, thankfully. Mm-hmm. It definitely was shook, and still to today. I was interviewed the other day by a pastor on a podcast, and he said to me, how do you teach families, because the emotional component is so important, with disease. How do you teach families to navigate that? And I actually just broke down. I did not expect it. And I was like, that's the hardest part with me and God, and I have these conversations. We just lost a little boy a couple days ago. 14, fought brain cancer for 9 years of his life. I'm like, really, God? Like, why? You know, and so I say that because while my faith literally kept me going, and I believe played into our marriage and to where we are today, it doesn't mean that it's like this perfect. I don't understand why kids get cancer.
Yeah.
Like, and I hate when people say, but you know, God has a plan. Yeah, of course he does, but it doesn't make sense and it doesn't feel good. And I'm not going to accept that that's like just what I tell a parent.
Right.
So I still have a whole lot of questions, but Josh and I would always say, my husband's Josh, we would say, how do people go through this without that hope, without believing in something bigger than themselves and having a hope in eternity? I got this tattoo when we were, we lost a little boy, Trucker. You probably remember that story. Some good friends of ours. He was diagnosed with neuroblastoma at like 18 months, passed away at 3. And when I found out he was put on hospice, I flew out to Maui to be with the family and just like cook and show up how I could. And we had this tattoo artist come to the house and did tattoos for his mom and I and her friend. And the tattoo is "In Light of Eternity." And it was this idea of like, what, 2 ways to look at it. What else matters in light of eternity? But also in light of eternity, like I know I will see him again. I know that there is something bigger. And it's like, otherwise it's over.
Yeah.
It ends. That's devastating. So it plays a big role, but it doesn't mean it's pretty. And I use a lot of bad words with God, and I think he's fine with it.
I agree. I would say yes to that. And does it play a role in how you support families through the KICKcancER movement as well, as kind of like supporting them in their faith process?
Yeah. And, you know, we're not a Christian organization by any means, but it's a ministry because like at the end of the day, it's kind of what you said earlier. You made this comment. If one person is helped, if at the end of the day, I can give one person hope, I feel like I've done my job. And that hope is that there is something bigger, that it's not their fault, that their child, whether they're healed in the arms of Jesus or healed here, like they have hope in this process. And so, yeah, I mean, we pray for families all the time. On our calls, we will in my membership program. And a lot of the families, they don't know God. They don't have a relationship with him, and they may not ever. But I think if nothing else, they feel that there is something a little bit different, and it's not all on them, right?
Yeah. I mean, my experience at Hope for Cancer was, you know, I grew up Catholic. I kind of considered myself, you know, got confirmed, didn't go to church anymore, got very into yoga and spirituality and lots of new age things. And I keep my mind very open to a lot of things. But through my experience at Hope for Cancer, you walk in the morning and we're singing devotional songs. And it allowed me to lean on something and to have strength beyond what I felt capable of at the time. And I 100% credit my return to faith, my relationship with Jesus, my relationship with God, to that time at Hope for Cancer. And it's been such a beautiful gift in my life over the last 6 years that now I get to share with my husband, with our boys, that I'm eternally grateful for. And it's sort of one of those things that where the breakdown leads to the breakthrough, right?
Yeah.
Being at my lowest, I said, okay, I can't do this on my own. I'm not capable of holding this by myself. I have to pull on the strength of something beyond myself. And then I got to watch how full life became for me in having the foundation of faith in my life. And so I'm really, really grateful for the willingness of Marcy and Tony and all of Hope for Cancer to share that. And they never pushed it on anybody, you know. If you don't want to come in the morning and sing and pray, you don't have to. And I was curious enough to kind of like, at first I didn't sing.
Yeah.
And then, I was like, okay, I open up my hands, like open up my energy. And it was just like, I did it in like these very soft, tiny little baby steps until now I'm at church and I'm just bawling. I'm just bawling with the Spirit, connected to the Holy Spirit. And I think it's really beautiful that there's even that you model that, right? That it's a part of your life that you can model that possibility for other people where they can, just peek open that crack without the dogma, right? You're speaking about it in such a relatable, honest way that we all feel. And it's not this strict dogma, which was what I always felt, in a faith practice. And I got to see it through the lens of other people who just came at it from a really loving, inclusive, compassionate way. And that's what I hear you saying. So
yeah, man, one of our most powerful moments, and my daughter would agree, we went to Hope for Cancer one night for worship night. And Marcy had said, like, I want you guys to come. And I could not even handle myself. Like watching these people worship their creator with stage 5 cancer and just be filled with joy in the Spirit and gratitude. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like this is, and Selah, my daughter, has said multiple times, like, can we just go back to Hope for Cancer? Like there is something about that place that because of their belief and their willingness to put it out there and give people hope, it like creates a place of healing on a deeper level where people that don't have cancer walk in and they're like, yeah, wow, can I just check in can I just be here for a little bit? Where normally you and I both know you walk into a hospital and you're like, get me the hell.
You want out of there.
Yes. You walk in there and you're like, so what if I stay? Like, can I stay for lunch?
Yeah. They had to make the detox program because
people wanted
to be in there, be a part of what was happening there. So tell me about Kicker today, 14 years old, thriving. Is he still eating pate and organic plantain chips or what?
Yeah. I've actually created beasts in my children because now we go to dinner. I will never forget. I actually took Kicker on a date. We went to the steakhouse when we lived in Bend, Oregon. And we went to this steakhouse and he's like going down. This was just a couple years ago. He's like looking, he's like, oh, I'll get this one. And I'm like, which one? He's like the grass-fed, grass-finished, Wagyu. What? I'm like, oh, God bless. It was like $85. Okay. What am I going to say to him? No. Because he says to me, he's like, oh, it's grass-fed and grass-finished. And I'm like, uh-huh. I'll have a salad and rolls.
I'll have the water, please.
I'll have the water. Yes.
My child will eat.
But he literally orders it and the waitress comes over and she asks what he wants. He's like, I'll have the blah, blah, blah. And she goes, wow, okay. And how do you like it cooked? He's like, rare, please.
Oh my God.
And then my daughter, they both actually eat so healthy. They have great palates. They like go out once in a while and, get junk. But I do feel like both of them, because we've always educated, it's not been no, it's nope, you can't have this because, or we're not going to have this because. So they are both really healthy. And I will say, like, I think that they both have this perspective. They know how fragile life is and they know what it's like to watch people be sick. And they just have a different perspective. So yeah, they're super healthy kickers. Like I said, he won a push-up contest. He's just surfing like 4 times a day. He has what we call poop head. I don't know if you know what that means.
No, but I'm very curious.
It
sounds like something my 6-year-old would say.
Yes, 100%. It's like a thing where surfers, because it's cold here, not Mexico, they're wearing a wetsuit. So they literally have a brown, like from here up, it's tan and brown, and then everything else is super white. So they call it poop head.
Oh my goodness.
So he's in the water all day surfing.
My kids are going to love this.
Yeah, you're going to have to tell him about poop. I'll send you a picture and you can show him.
Please.
Yeah, he's killing it. He's doing great and super healthy. And, kind of stepping into a little bit of his role of, you can see he's playing with the idea of how can I show up for people? And he's talked about maybe starting an Instagram, and we're talking about like, yes, only if you're contributing and not consuming. And so you can tell he's kind of playing around with the idea of what it would look like to help others in his way. But he's doing really good.
I love that. Thank you, God. Thank you, God, for Kicker's life and for you for being the mother that you are and paying forward this mission. I have one more question for you because I actually just talked about this with Dr. Tony on the podcast that I did with him a couple weeks ago about the use of nicotine patches. I'm obviously very pregnant, so I'm not doing it right now. But I had actually told him that I had my spike protein, my COVID spike protein was really high. It was at 2,500. Yeah,
What?
is that crazy?
Oh no.
Yeah.
Now I need to check.
Yeah, so I had just got it run. So I will be doing the protocol. Tell me about, I know, but you're doing the nicotine patch protocol.
Yeah.
Tell me why you started it, how it's going, and the benefits of, because we can kind of play that conversation off what he taught us too.
Yeah.
Just like your personal experience.
So I've been hearing it from colleagues for like a year.
Okay.
They're like nicotine, and I just, there's so much in our field and in our realm. And when you're in the world of healing and like health, there's things coming at you like people drink their own urine. There's all these things where I'm like, yeah, that's interesting. But
I gotta draw the line somewhere, right? The
right.
urine,
Like,
I don't know.
there's just a
Check
line.
with me in a year, we'll see.
100%. Yeah, I know. I never say never, but I'm like, there are so many things. But for some reason, this intrigued me. And then I randomly saw a study come through that was nicotine use in brain cancer. And I'm like, what? So then it piqued my interest a little bit more. So I started digging in, started to kind of listen to some podcasts and read some articles and Dr. Ardis, like getting his information and some of the articles he's published. And I thought, okay, this is something that I am actually really curious about now. And just the thought of, so I was on a podcast with Bethany, a friend of ours that owns Primarily Pure, and she's telling me about this. She's like, have you heard about nicotine? And it's so great for mental clarity. And I'm like, mental clarity? I could always use that.
Yeah, right.
So this point, I'm like, okay, enough people have told me I can't talk about it and I can't recommend it to my clients or, families until I really go through this and try it. So I started using the patch and I started at like 7 milligrams.
I think he recommends 7 milligrams cut in half.
Yes.
So it's about 3.5.
I did cut in half and I went up each day by half and now I'm at 21 milligrams and I just wear the patch every day. And I took it off for a few days to see if I noticed. And here's what I personally noticed. Now I like the idea of the protection or the spike protein. And I've actually now done enough research where I'm confident I've recommended it to a few people that I'm working with that had received a COVID vaccine and have had a hell of a time with their health. So I like that idea. I like the immunoprotective piece, that it's protective of the immune system. And the clarity, that was really appealing. So I've noticed more specifically like mental clarity and not energy, but just like focus, hyper focus, and a little bit better sleep. And I sleep great, but I can be a little bit more wakeful sometimes, especially right before my cycle. And I noticed the last couple months, like, oh, interesting. I'm like actually sleeping pretty consistently. So that said, like I'm still kind of figuring it out and wanting to learn more, but I'm really fascinated by the research, especially in relation to cancer and spike proteins.
Yeah, 100%. I got Dr. Ardis' book from Dr. Tony's recommendation, and it will be really interesting because I have my before levels.
Yes.
Right? I have my before, and I'm obviously not vaccinated. I hang out within a community of people who aren't vaccinated. Like, why are mine high? So it will be really interesting to have like the data of that for me specifically once I start on that protocol. So we'll keep each other up to date on how that goes.
For sure. I'm excited to hear. That's so fascinating.
And your foundational daily health practices, what are your non-negotiables? You won't see what are your non-negotiables for your daily health?
I feel like you and I probably have the same morning routine. In fact, we've talked in the morning before doing the same thing. So coffee enema for sure. Red light therapy.
Okay.
I do kind of the double thing where I have the red light over my abdomen and then wearing it on my face. Bible, reading the Bible. Morning walk.
At sunrise, does it matter?
So I have been, now sunrise is like 5:45 and I'm like, dude, listen, I still I'm going to do my coffee. I get up at 5:30.
Okay.
But I don't know if I'm really ready to go out and walk yet.
Fair.
So I walk around 6:15. Hydration. So I will always do a full glass of molecular hydrogen water. And I do my newest thing, and I love this, is warm kind of tea with fresh lemon zest, so the peel, fresh turmeric, fresh ginger, a splash of raw apple cider vinegar, and a dash of sea salt. And just like kind of an anti-inflammatory like tonic.
Like blended or steeped?
No, it's just all in there. And I'm like
okay.
taking the chunks.
Okay.
So that last sip is little like, ooh, that was a lot of chunks. But it just felt right. And, just studying all the time and different herbs, and I'm always trying to up my game. So yeah, I would say those are the main ones.
I love it. When I first started reading Chris Beat Cancer's book, he has a morning tonic it's hot water, apple cider vinegar, garlic, lemon, moringa powder, amla powder, and that might be it. But you blend it all together. You blend it and you drink it. And it didn't taste great, but dang, I felt good on that.
Really?
Like I often am like, I need to get back to that morning tonic. Like it will set your energy for the day for sure.
Except it might set my clients like further back if I'm doing garlic every morning.
Yeah.
I feel like they'll be like, yeah, let's just keep a little distance because
for sure. I was putting like a big old clove of garlic in there in the morning and then going to do my coffee enema. So I'm obviously so looking forward to meeting this beautiful baby in 4 weeks and being a mama to 3. And I'm very excited to also be getting back to my detox practices because they are such a foundational anchor of my day.
Yeah.
So, my detox has just been walking, sweating in the Texas heat, good nutrition, good sleep, prayer, just like the basics, the basic health things have been my
while
foundation.
Growing a human.
Yes. And growing bones.
Yes.
I'm so grateful for you, my friend, truly, deeply. Thank you for the time to come meet me in San Diego at 5 p.m. and just for the work that you're doing in the world, for your voice, for your tenacity. I know a fierce mama bear when I see one, and that is who you are. So I'm just grateful to have a sister in the journey of supporting our families, supporting others, paying forward our own hardships. And I love you and appreciate you dearly. So thank you so
friend.
much.
I love you too. Feeling is mutual. Thanks for all you do.
Yeah, my pleasure. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.